has written a book on non-translatables. There are many things that loaded words that are it is impossible for us to translate it in English and express effectively. However, I will, considering the necessity and the comfort of all others who don't understand one single language, I will continue in English. I hope all of you know what it means to be a Dashagranthi and Ganapati. I would like to know, have a little conversation before I delve into the topic. Does anyone doesn't know the meaning of Ganapati and Dashagranthi? Okay. Matangi Bhattaram, she knows. She knows or doesn't know? She doesn't know. Okay.
Ganapati ityukte Mahodaya, like how to chant the Veda sloka, the lay of Swara Sahita, and like that.
Okay. It will be more of my introduction, but it will also throw light into some educational aspect also. That is why I'm raising this question. I hope all of you know that there are 4 Vedas and multiple branches to the 4 Vedas. There is a particular way of studying Veda. In academic world, people search for information, many information, then process that information and give an output. But the traditional Bharatiya Vedic study is different. One has to study one complete Veda to practice after getting married. What is the purpose of studying Veda is to practice, not to give lectures or not to teach somebody or not to study some other country. What happened is Western scholars came to India to study India. That is called as Orientalism, Orientalist study. If you type Orientalism in Google, the Wikipedia says it is study of Southeast countries. So basically, somebody came to our country to study us. They translated our books and all, and they have created a knowledge base or database. I don't call it knowledge base, it is database. Processing that database, knowing about certain things is being considered as a scholarship in academic world. But Bharatiya scholarship is different. Acquiring scholarship in Bharatiya knowledge is to practice, not to study some other country and invade them and control them. So Westerners' purpose of our Vedic study or Bharatiya study was to have a control over us. But our intention of studying is to practice and to be liberated. So there are 3 parts in Veda: Samhita, Brahmana, and Aranyaka. These are the 3 books in every Veda, in all 4 Vedas, and all other branches also. Branches in the sense, Rigveda has Shakala Shakha, Bhaskala Shakha, Shankhayana Shakha. Like that, there are 21 shakhas, 21 traditions. In Yajurveda, there is Shukla Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda, Taitri Shakha, Madhyandana Shakha. Like that, there are multiple shakhas. In every shakha of Veda or every tradition of Veda, there are 3 books: Samhita, Brahmana, and Aranyaka. Brahmana not in the sense of caste actually. Brahmana, that which is about Brahman, that is Brahmana. The text is about Brahman, that is why it is called Brahmana. And Aranyaka text is supposed to be studied in Aranya. Aranya means forest. One has to go to forest and study under some guru. That is why it is called Aranyaka, because it is not suitable for commoners and family people and all. Someone has to have a deeper striving to know certain things. Those people only should go to forest and study it. It is not conducive or helpful for others actually. It may disturb their livelihood also. They say if you teach Vedanta or deep philosophy to anadhikari, non-eligible person, there is a danger, there is a possibility of he becoming Nastika. That is why there should be a certain qualification or evolution before starting those subjects. That is why it was supposed to be studied in Aranyaka. Even today in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu and other states where Vedic acharyas, they teach Samhita and Brahmana in their homes only. But when it comes to Aranyaka, they take the students to some forest area or some farmland or somewhere away from the home. They teach Aranyaka and come back home in the afternoon. So this tradition is still alive, studying Aranyaka in the Aranya. So Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka are the three texts. After, if somebody studies all these three texts, it is called Moola. He has completed Moola. There is no first standard, second standard like that. There are no classes in the traditional education system. What have you completed? This will be the question. They don't ask which grade you are. Nobody asks me which grade you are. If some Vedic students comes in front of my eyes, I won't ask him which standard or which school. I will ask, what have you completed? So that's how the education goes. So if somebody completes all these three texts, memorizes it, he is called Moola, Moolanta Adhyayana. He has completed Moola. So there are Padapatha and Kramapatha are there. Pada is dividing each word of the Veda. Krama is joining two words. So there are certain procedures. I will give you an example of Gayatri Mantra because everyone knows Gayatri Mantra. So Tatsa Viturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. This is Moola, original. If I say Pada to this same mantra, I have to divide each word. Tat Savituhu Varenyam Bhargaha Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyaha Yaha Naha Prachodayat. 10 words are there. This is Padapatha. There will be Udatta, Anudatta, and all the Swara pattern will be there in the Padapatha also. After completing this Padapatha to entire Veda again needs to be by hearted with the Pada. So it takes almost 2 years to complete Pada. After that, there is a system called Kramapatha. We have to join two words, Tat Savituhu. There are two words. Tat Savituhu, we have to do the Sandhi along with the Swara. We have to leave the Tat first word and catch the forward. Savitur Varenyam Bhargaha Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. You have to go forward with each word. You have to go forward. The Sandhi should be proper and the Swara should be proper and the Uchcharan, everything should be proper. This is called Kramapatha. If somebody completes Kramapatha to entire Veda, he is called Kramapathi. Even in Andhra Pradesh, they are called Avadhanis. Hey, my son is Avadhani. It means he has completed Kramapatha. So after this, there are Ashtavikritis, 8 Vikriti Pathas. Jata, Mala, Shikha, Rekha, Dhwajo, Dando, Ratho, Ghanaha. Ashtav Vikritayah Prokta, Kramapurva, Maharshibhi. So these are more complex patterns. I will give you example of Ghana only. Jata, Mala, Shikha, Rekha, Dhwajo, Dando, Ratho. I will leave 7 and the famous one is Ghana. That's why I will explain the Ghana only. I have to take 3 words. Assume Tatu, Savituhu, Varenyam. So Anuloma, Viloma, Anuloma, Viloma. So Tat Savitus, Tat Savitur Varenyam, Savitus, Tat Savitur Varenyam. This is Trivara Anuloma Viloma. Even in Anuloma, forward and backward, the Sandhi should be proper, Swara should be proper. We have to follow the Lakshana. There is a Ghana Lakshana. So after that, we have to leave the first word and catch another 4th word. It goes like that. So if we need at least, we need at least 40 minutes to chant one chapter, one Adhyaya. But to chant Ghana for the same Adhyaya, it takes 5 hours. So this is the Ghana. So the one who has completely studied Ghana, knows Ghana to entire Veda, is known as Ghanapati. I hope it's clear now. Along with that, there is a system of application. We have to apply this knowledge into practice, right? So to apply this knowledge, we need to study Vedangas. Vedanga means, Anga means limbs of Veda. Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chanda, Nirukta, Jyotisha, and Kalpa. These are the 6 limbs of the Veda. So 6 limbs of Veda and Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka. These are the 3 books. So it became 9. 6 plus 3. Along with that, we have to study the Pratishakhya. There is something called Pratishakhya. Each Shakha has its own peculiar system of pronunciation and meaning. So we have to study Pratishakhya. Pratishakhya is known as Lakshana also. So including Pratishakhya, it becomes 10 books. Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Shiksha, Vyakarana, Chanda, Nirukta, Jyotisha, Kalpa, and Pratishakhya. So these are the 10 books. We have to complete it. So the one who has completely studied all these 10 books is known as Dashagranthi. Dashagranthi and Ganapati. This was my introduction, right? So I'm not praising myself here. I'm just trying to introduce how different and how complex and how evolved the system is, Bharatiya education system. Okay, let me start a presentation here. Okay. You might, all of you might have heard that there is a shloka in Subhashita in Sanskrit, Ahara Nidra Bhayamaithunancha Samanyametat Pashubhirnaranam. So when we talk about education, we have to think why we need education, first of all. There are 84 lakh, they say 84 lakh yoniya in Hindi. In Kannada, Yesu Kayangala Kaladu, 84 laksha Jiva Rashiyannu Dati Banda Isharira. So in every literature, in Indic languages, you will find that there are 84 lakh species. I don't know the exact word species. I am calling it species only. Jiva Rashi, 84 laksha, 84 lakh. 84 lakh yoniya. If you type Google 84 lakh, it will show yoniya automatically. Google will suggest. So these many species are there on the planet. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, and Maithuna. Food, sleep, fear, and reproduction are the common things among all of them. But only human being has something special. Something special. If you look at the Western thinking, they say man is a social animal. This was said by some philosopher, Socrates or somebody. Later, they said, they corrected themselves. It shows actually that they consider human beings as animals. Their thought process considers human beings as animal. The evolution theory also in alignment with that. The gorilla became human being and all. The Darwin's evolution theory also in alignment with that. Basically, they consider human being as an animal, human being in scientific way. But in religious theology, they consider that the whole creation has been created for man. Only man, not woman. The God has created, the creator has created the creation for the man to enjoy. That is the theological idea, Abrahamic theological idea. Contrary to that, scientific thought process or philosophical thought process of the West considers man as an animal. So man is a social animal. Later they said man is a socio-political animal. And then later they said man is a socio-political economical animal. So basically they are agreeing that it is animal only. They are not changing that. So even till now, they haven't been able to realize that man is different from the animals. So Bharatiya Drishti, Bharatiya view doesn't look like it, look at it like that. I hope my English is okay. So Bharatiya perspective of life, Bharatiya understanding of life, or Bharatiya vision of life doesn't look at human beings like that in a similar way to Western perspective. There is a huge difference. What is the difference? Difference is human beings have the Sankalpa Shakti, freedom to decide, freedom to act. So that freedom comes with vulnerability also. When a child is born, he's so vulnerable, he doesn't know, he can't look after himself, he can't stand like an animal. The animals and birds, they don't need such care. But human beings need so much care after the birth for so many years. Because it is man's spine is vertical, straight to the, not actually flat. It is urdhvamukhi. I don't know what is called in urdhvamukhi in English. Vertical or
vertical, Mahodaya.
Okay, vertical. Human being's spine is vertical. If you observe, no other species on the planet has such kind of a spine. That is urdhvamukhi or vertical. This has so much significance scientifically, philosophically, and all dimensions. It has so much significance. That is why human being has freedom to choose, freedom to decide, and choice to become free from all this birth and death and all the cycles. So there is so much difference between all other animals, other species, and human being. We have Bharatiya Drishti considers that. That is why you might have heard that human life is so precious. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. In all other literature, even Bhakti literature, even songs, sayings, everywhere you will see that Bharatiya culture values human life so much that it says, don't waste it, don't waste it. It means there is something significant that needs to be nurtured, realized, and practiced. Then only we will be able to exploit the potential of being human. Otherwise, we will end up dying like an animal. Ahara nidra bhaya maithuna. If we have to have the benefit of being human, we have to realize something so profound and that makes make us different from all other species. So that needs to be realized. So this is the fundamental difference between Western worldview or understanding of life, and Bharatiya worldview or Bharatiya Jivana Drishti. It is called Jivana Drishti, Bharatiya Jivana Drishti. So why we give education? First of all, Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. Vidya is that which liberates us. So all other things are known as Shilpa Naipunya. In Vishnu Purana, there is a shloka called Tat Karma Yanna Bandhaya Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. Ayasaya Aparam Karma Vidyanyaha Shilpa Naipunam. Tat Karma Yat Na Bandhaya. What is karma? Karma is that which does not bind us. Action is not karma actually. We are translating action as karma. Conscious action, that which does not bind us. What binds us actually? If you do an action, there will be a reaction, definitely. But what will bind us? The reaction should not bind us. What binds us is kartrutva bhava and phalapeksha. Sense of doer and expectation of the result. Kartrutva bhava and phalapeksha. These two things are binding us in the consequences of the actions. So if we remove these two aspects from the any action, that will become karma. That will become liberating. Kartrutva bhava, maine kiya, nen chesanu. So that kartrutva bhava, this is what Gita is all about. Niyatang kuru karmatvam. You have to do action, but you should not have kartrutva bhava and phalapeksha, expectation. So if we remove these two poisons from the action, that will become karma. That will become liberating. However, how much ever action you do, it will not turn into a bondage to you. So tat karma yanna bandhaya. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye. Vidya is that which liberates us. Ayasaya aparam karma. All other activities are for ayasa, physical exertions. Vidyanyaha shilpa naipunyam. Our skills are for just survival. Shilpa Shastra means the life surviving skills and all other things. Even in Vishnu Sahasranama, you might have heard that Vidya Shilpa Adhikarmacha. There is a line called Vidya Shilpa Adhikarmacha. So in Bharatiya knowledge system, we make a distinction between Vidya and Shilpa. Ashtadasha Vidya and all other things are there. That will become another lecture, Ashtadasha Vidya. So apart from Ashtadasha Vidya, everything else is known as Shilpa Shastra. That is why Vishnu Sahasranama is saying Vidya Shilpadi Karmacha. This distinction you cannot find in any other part of the world. Cultural education, religious education, modern education, scientific education, all kinds of distinctions have been made. But Vidya Shilpa Bheda is not there. Vidya is not religion. That's why you should not consider it as a religious education. Okay, fine. So basically, Vidya, education should be, the purpose of education should be Muktakari. It should liberate us. Liberation, not in the sense of falling off the body and being one with the God. And I'm not talking about that Parameshti. I'm not talking about afterlife things. Muktakari. If I don't know something, I didn't know English. So I had a bondage, I had a limitation. That was suffocating. So I learned English and I opened a new door and I became mukta from certain bondage. So that is Muktakari. So like there are many layers of bondages in life. So our education should liberate us from those bondages. And at the end, Antatogatva, at the end, it should liberate us from the life and death cycle also. So, Muktakari, the nature of education should be Muktakari, education for liberation. And Yuktakari, synchronized life, Yukta, Yojana Shabdakam. Yojana means alignment. So, Yojana ठीक से होनी चाहिए. It should align us with, suppose there is a family and we have gone somewhere else and studied something and came back, but we are unable to sync with the family. So that is not Yuktakari Shiksha. And we are unable to mingle with our relatives. We are unable to work with colleagues. We are unable to be with our siblings. So in all levels, we don't have yojana, we don't have greasing to be gel, to mingle. So there is something wrong with that education. Not only with people, parivara, family, society, these are the main things to be yukta, and also in the society and with animals, with nature. People think that we are different from the nature. I was talking about Western philosophy, Western theological philosophy is that the whole creation has been created for us. It means we are different and the nature is different. There is a distinction between nature and the man. But there is no difference actually. it is scientifically also has been proven that we have 7 trillion cells in our bodies, and those cells are not different from the nature. Those cells are not different anymore. So it is actually, we are also part of, we are also Prakriti, not part, actually we are also Prakriti. We are also made out of Prakriti, that has been made out of Triguna. Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha. In Gita, Krishna says, Prakritehe kriyamanani. So Prakriti has manifested into nature. Sorry. Triguna has been manifested into nature. Sattva, Raja and Tama. And we are nature actually. We are also nature. This, if we have to have an experience of that oneness with the Prakriti, our education should be synergic. Education should enable us to realize it, experience it, and utilize it, not exploit it. The whole world went on exploiting the nature and caused many damages because there is no yuktata. Yuktakari Shiksha was not there. Therefore, they thought that nature is for us to exploit and we will exploit it. So they exploited, and we are into so many problems now, including global warming and all. So Yuktakari Shiksha should be there, and Arthakari Shiksha should be, education should be Arthakari. It also facilitate our daily needs and all other things in our lives. So these three are the more important aspects of education: Muktakari, Yuktakari, and Arthakari. So I will tell the same thing in different way now to be more specific. Purpose of education is only two purposes are there: Samarthya Vruddhi and Samskara Pradana, enhancement of abilities and installation of samskara. Suppose somebody is able to speak and communicate with some people. That is his ability. As of now, that is his ability to communicate, to use the language to certain extent. He has to evolve and enhance his ability of using that language to communicate to so many people and more effectively in most profound manner. He needs to learn some Vyakarana, and he needs some diction, he needs a certain personality. So the learning of language is basically enhancement of a certain ability, isn't it? Similarly, there are so many things. I can jump 2 feet, but enhancement of ability means I have to be able to jump 4 feet height. That is enhancement. Physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, economically, in all manners, our ability should be enhanced through education. But if you look at our current education system, the system is trying to test your ability in the name of examination and education. So testing is going on all the time. Testing is going on. People have to prove every day that they are good. There are no practices, no methods, or no facilities through which the ability will be enhanced. People are able to learn language better and speak many languages and all. That all inbuilt Janmagata Samskara, Janmagata Samarthya. That has come naturally. But what have you done additionally? Have you enhanced ability and natural ability? No. So we are exploiting the natural available ability and making a competition out of it. We are not designing the system, education, to enhance the ability. Somebody sings well. Hey, her voice is good. Teach her music. So immediately we'll start teaching her music and we'll see how good she can sing. We are not bothered about her ability, enhancing her ability. We are bothered about her inbuilt talent. We are bothered about exploiting her talent. So that Sangeeta, that music can turn into a sadhana, and she can attain profound, have a profound experiences, profound inner experiences through the sadhana, through the music. And she can take thousands of people into some different dimension through her music. That possibility, that potential is there. But we are not doing anything to enhance her ability. Instead, we are trying to see how far she can go, how good she is. This has been the nature. But Bharatiya Gurukula, ancient system of education, pre-British era education system, was organically was in a what we say, in a practices method that naturally enhances the ability. If somebody, I took the example of music, it can become a martial art also. Different people have different needs. Actually, we cannot enhance all the abilities in every child. Certain people need certain abilities in their life. Accordingly, their food habits will be there, their dressing will be there, their curriculum will be there, their methodology will be there. Everything will be accordingly. It should be accordingly. But these days, what happened is uniform education, same kind of curriculum, same kind of method for everybody. Factory system, as if we are producing some products from the factory, we have designed certain pattern. Everybody has to go through the same pattern. So if you see Kshatriya Gurukula, food used to be different. In Vaidika Gurukula, food used to be different. So even food also should be accordingly, not only the curriculum. And the certain Vidyas have certain, what we say, Abhimani Devata. The people who do Kusti, wrestling and all, they worship Hanuman. Ayurveda people worship Dhanvantari. So they have to have a certain Abhimani Devata of that Vidya to be in sync with the Vidya. And I said Kartrutva Bhava and Phalapeksha should not be there. If you don't have a Devata, you will end up having Kartrutva Bhava. You cannot give away the Phala to any Devata because you don't have a Devata. Krishna is saying, give all the Phala to me only, put it on me only. So we have to have a Upasya Devata. Where is Upasya Devata in education? So Upasya Devata should be there. With the sync of, in sync with the Upasya Devata, the ability will be enhanced. And also, there are certain experiments have been done to measure that if kids under 16 years of age are fearful of somebody, they will learn better. If you consider somebody as greater than you and bow down to them, your prana will, upsurge will happen in the prana. First of all, we don't recognize prana in these days. There are prana, apana, vyayana, mudana, samana. These 5 pranas, Naga, Kurma, Krikara, Devadatta, Dhananjaya. These are upapranas. 10 pranas are there. So how you experience certain thing is determined by the state of prana in your body. For example, we are sitting in a cinema hall, and or we are walking in some road. We are looking at certain things, and we, through the eyes, through the operators, we are able to experience certain things. If our prana is in a vibrant way, in a proper functional, if it is functioning properly, our experience of that visual will be completely different. The same visual, the same eye. So everything is determined by the prana. Pranasedam vashe sarvam tridive yat pratishthitam. Whatever is there, in three-dimensional world, everything is under control of the prana. So if you look at Bharatiya practices, everything is related to prana only. They say the door of the house should be east facing. Why? Prana comes from the sun. The prana shakti should enter the house. So even Vastu Shastra is related to prana. But we think it is some belief system now because we have forgotten the prana vidya. There is no discussion about prana now because the Western science has not been able to identify the prana yet. And due to invasion and all other things, we also have lost so many sciences, so many practices, so many traditions. So the prana aspect from the culture has been forgotten. We think it is some duty to perform certain rituals, but those rituals are based on the prana. So even Ashwatha Pradakshina, the circling of the Ashwatha tree is also related to prana only. So if you go to some the modern yoga classes also, they will teach this is pranic food, this is negative pranic food, this is positive pranic food, this is zero pranic food. In these days in US also, they teach pranic food, zero pranic food, and positive pranic, negative pranic, and zero pranic. So if you check their list, I'm talking about the Isha Foundation. In Isha Foundation's courses, they teach about pranic food. If you check the list of positive pranic food, you will find ash god, kushmanda, lemon. Don't you? So what we do with kushmanda in India, we break it in front of the house. We put it all around the door. We use it in every season and we make halwa out of it. And we remove drishti of people. With the kushmanda, we remove drishti. Basically, what we are trying to do is, we are trying to enhance and repair the structure of prana in somebody's body with those rituals. Because those vegetables and those things contain so much prana. Lemons are used even in black magic also because it contains prana. So it is basically it is energy. That energy can be used in a positive way or negative way also. That is why tantric practices need certain pranic materials. So basically, the whole Bharatiya rituals, practices, everything is fundamentally based on the understanding of prana, how prana behaves and how it impacts us. If you go to funeral place, Smashana, Rudra Bhumi, if you come back, you have to follow certain rituals because certain vibrant prana shakti will be there in the Smashana, Rudra Bhumi. So let's come back to this. So our experience of life is determined by the prana. So are we working on prana in the education? Are we enhancing it? Are we enhancing the experience? Are we enhancing the perception? No. So samarthya vriddhi, not only physical training. If somebody goes to gym, that is also some kind of a samarthya vriddhi, enhancement of energy. So in all levels, our ability to perceive, to contain, to experience, to deliver, to inspire. Experience is essential. To grasp, to experience, it is, if I sit down in a place and close my eyes, if I am able to experience certain things, that is one kind of achievement. That is kind of achievement. It is not a spiritual practice or religious practice or something else. If I am able to experience certain things, that's an ability. So I can go forward and experience more things. So human internal profound experience should be primary goal of education. So that is not happening, and that is possible with the enhancement of prana. So we have Panchendriya and Pancha Tanmatra. So we have to work on Indriya and Prana. recently our secretary Mukul Kanatkar has written Panchakosha Adharita Shiksha. He has written a research paper on Panchakosha Adharita Shiksha. These days, many people are doing marketing on Panchakosha Vikas. We will do Panchakosha Vikasa. So you cannot enhance the kosha. You can enhance the experience through the kosha. So kosha vikasa is not possible. Panchakosha vikasa is not possible. That wrongly people are marketing Panchakosha vikasa in many places. How can you enhance a kosha? So only ability to perceive and experience can be enhanced. So we have to understand our prana, indriya system first. Chaturvimshati tattva. Panchendriya, Panchatanmatra, Panchabhuta, Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. The Sankhya talks about 24 tattvas. We have to understand those. We have to understand prana and work on enhancement of ability. This is a spiritual dimension of spiritual enhancement or experiential enhancement. Apart from that, skills also, every kind of skill, social, even including soft skills, social skill, all kind of skills needs to be enhanced through education. Along with that, installation of samskara, samarthya vriddhi, samskara pradana. Samskara includes jivana drishti. Unless we have a proper vision, proper drishti, world view towards life, it is not possible to walk that path. And dharmikata, jnanapurnata, bhakti, tyaga. The tyaga is most respected virtue in Bharat. If somebody has done some tyaga, they are most revered people in the society. So even in recently the Manikarnika film, I was watching Manikarnika film. In that film, the lead character says, साहब ये भारत है, यहाँ पर जो सब कुछ छोड़ के खड़ा है वो सबसे बड़ा है. यहाँ पर जो सब कुछ छोड़ के खड़ा है वो सबसे बड़ा है. So that dialogue has been written by Prasoon Joshi. He captured the essence very well. So tyaga is necessary, not only a virtue, it is not a moral actually. If you understand life, it is a part of a process of yajna. In yajna, what happens? We give back certain things in terms of ahuti, in terms of dana, in terms of social relation. Yajna is a process of giving back. So now I have studied 12 years under my guru and eaten at his home. Since then, I am giving it back. So it is my responsibility to give back. My guru given me 12 years of education. Now I have to at least give 40 years or 50 years, give it back. Only jivane yavadadanam syat pradanam tatodhikam. So you have to give more than what you receive. So if we have received favors from the Prakriti, we have to give back to the Prakriti. If we have received something from parents, we have to give back to the parents. If we have received something from the society, we have to give more to the society. So this is a chakra, dharma chakra. This is how dharma chakra runs. If this tyaga stops, dharma chakra will stop. If dharma chakra stops, I don't have to tell what happens. So this word, this creation is happening because of yajna. The process of yajna is keeping it alive. Yajna means giving back. Actually. Not only the swaha, that ritual is not yajna actually. So this is the yajna. So we have to prepare children in a manner that they should give more than they receive. अरे आपने हमको क्या दिया? अरे आपने हमको क्या दिया? This is the dialogue. So this should not be the motto. So हमने क्या किया? हमने क्या किया? ये भाव आना चाहिए. So tyaga should be inculcated in people. That is the true purpose of education. Sorry. So bhakti, tyaga, dharmikata, jnanapurnata, susamskrita, unnata jivana drishti, purified and evolved view of life. View of life is most important. Unless you have a view of life, how can you give something to somebody? What is the purpose of giving? So the view is essential. So this is the enhancement of ability and samskara pradana. This is the purpose of two purpose of education. So now what is dharmikata? I was talking about dharma and all, dharma, bhakti, tyaga. So a person should have certain qualities that he should evolve into a human being. I wouldn't say good human being. There is no good and bad. This good bad concept is completely European concept. They say you have to enjoy good life. What is good life? There's no black and white, good and bad, even in life. So good pleasure. Socrates talks about good pleasure. What is bad pleasure then? Pleasure. It is complete. It is the experience of an indriya. So I'm not talking about good human being. I'm talking about evolved human being, complete human being. So if somebody says good girl, bad girl, this has come into our daily jargon actually. But I won't say if you have these 10 qualities, you will become a good human being. I'm talking about realizing, exploiting, utilizing the opportunity of being human. So this is from Manusmriti. In Manusmriti, Manu says, Dhriti kshama damasteyam shauchamindriya nigraha dhir vidya satyamakrодha dashakam dharma lakshanam. In Manusmriti, Manu says this. In Mahabharata, Bhishma says in different way. He says only 8 things. Dharmasyashta vidhasmritaha. So, dhriti, kshama, we have to have all these aspects in our life. These won't come by teaching. Hey, you should become good boy. Nobody will become good boy with that. Nobody will become good boy. So you have to have kshama in your heart. So it won't come, kshama won't come into our heart like that. We have to create an environment. We have to live a certain life so that by looking at us, they will imitate. Kids won't learn if you say something. They will observe and they will imitate. So we have to, that is why they are called acharya. The teacher is called as acharya. What is acharya? Achinotihi shastrarthan acharya sthapayatyapi swayam acharate yasmat tasmat acharya uchyate. Swayam acharate. He practices himself. He lives like that. Then only being with him, kids learn. So sahavasa is the main education. These days what happened is there is no relation between teacher and kids. The 9 o'clock they come, they teach certain things and they go back. The kids don't know how the teacher lives actually. So the sahavasa has gone away from the education. So that sahavasa itself is essential education. So if acharya is practicing, if a father is practicing, if a mother is practicing these things, akrodha, not having anger. Vidya means having purified thoughts and heading towards the higher goal of life. Dhi, Indriya Nigraha. Indriya Nigraha doesn't mean celibacy. Western people translate it as a celibacy. Indriya Nigraha is not celibacy. There are 5 Indriyas. If we have to have control over those 5 Indriyas. For example, if somebody is sitting and looking at the phone, after 4 hours, he realizes that I was looking at the phone for 4 hours. It means that Indriya had no control, he had no control over his Indriya. So unconscious action, in 24 hours, how much of your action is conscious? Kindly evaluate and think about it. Unconsciously we are doing things. So if we are able to do conscious action, that is Indriya Nigraha. It is not about sexuality and all. Indriya Nigraha is essentially being conscious about our action, being conscious about ourselves, Indriyas. So these are the qualities a person needs in life: to be synchronized, to be yukta, to be mukta, and to earn money, to be arthakari. Yuktakari, muktakari, arthakari. If somebody has to become, these things has to come into his life. So this is the purpose of education. People think that you are talking about dharma and all other things. What about livelihood? What about jobs? What about business? So if you enhance somebody's ability, what is he going to do with that ability? So we don't have to talk about that part of just enhance somebody's ability and leave. They will do whatever is possible with that ability. So are you concerned about enhancing ability, or are you concerned about the result of action? So we are concerned about the job, what kind of job he will get, which company, which university he goes. We are concerned about those things. We are trying to save money and influence people to get certain seats and all. But we are not focusing on enhancement of his abilities. That is why, and we are not concerned about samskaras. So samskara adhana and enhancement of ability, these should be taken care, because व्यक्ति से परिवार, from individual, an individual can have extension of himself in the name of family. I will give one example. If a boy is not eaten, his mother will bring something and give it to him. She is also hungry. But the moment the boy eats it and feels happy, the mother also feels happy and she also feels fulfilled. Why? She hasn't eaten anything. But what's making her experience that fulfillment? Because she is considering her boy as herself. What is called is mamatva. Mamatva or atmiyata. These are the words. These words cannot be translated into English. That's what I was saying in the beginning. Mamatva. Mamata. In Hindi they say mamata. So mama, mine. So if you consider something, for example, I have mouse here. If I start considering this mouse as me, my prana will enhance and include this mouse into myself. If somebody touches that mouse, I will experience that touch. That's higher level of practice required for that. This is possible. Now, I'm not talking about some impossible things. It is possible. In emotional way, the mother is considering her son as a part of herself. So if that boy is experiencing some sweet, she is also enjoy it. In prana level, I think I'm unable to convey it in English properly. माता के अनुभव ममता के कारण वहां तक विस्तारित हो, it will be enhanced until his son, until her son. So whatever happens in that zone of her prana will be her experience. If her boy is happy, she is also happy, because their prana has become one. That mamata will extend the pranas. Mamatva bhava will extend the prana. So how much mamatva we have? We have mamatva only in our family. My brother, my sister, my father, my mother, my son, my daughter. So our mamatva is limited. So that is why our prana is also limited to a certain level. So a person will immediately have, naturally will have mamatva in the parivara, in the family. So vyakti se parivar. With certain education, enhancement of abilities also, with certain education with values and all, they have to be able to consider the samaja also, the society also, with mamatva, atmiyata, oneness. They should experience the oneness with the society. And if we extend it more, the Rashtra is mine. If somebody abuses Bharata, many people will get angry. Why? They consider Bharata as their selves. So mamatva is there, atmiyata is there. That is why it is hurting them. If there is no mamatva, it won't hurt. So the extension of mamatva from family, family to society, society to Rashtra to Srishti, the whole creation, then Parameshti, the unmanifested dimension of creation. So this is the enhancement. Ekatva ki anubhuti, swaka sahaj vistar, akshaya akhanda vikas. Infinite expansion is possible in terms of prana and all. So this should be this oneness, enhancement of oneness, expansion of oneness should be the goal of education. With that, the ability will come. With the ability, they will anyway earn their livelihood. So, if somebody says livelihood should not be the goal of education, if somebody says like that, then what should be? Are they going to beg? So, this is the context behind that sentence actually. Bharatiya education is not about jobs. It is about enhancement of abilities. Am I audible?
Okay. Yes, but the
light.
Yeah, I think the power is there. I think the power gone here in Chennai. The Tufan is going on. Too much rain. I think I will conclude here. I would like to take questions from anybody.
Namaste, Mahodaya. So you mentioned about Panchakosha Adharita Vidya. So can you expand a little bit on that?
Yes. We have to get into Sankhya Darshana for that. I think if there is any opportunity, I would like to do special dedicated lecture on the same topic. It is vast subject. It will not be appropriate to touch it and leave. I will talk at some other time on it, actually. And I will share some articles on it, actually. Okay. Any other question, please?
Mahodaya, you mentioned about Prana Vidya. Now, how do we learn about that? Or
Bihar School of Yoga has published certain books on Prana Vidya. Bihar School of Yoga, and I am developing a course for IIT Delhi. The IIT Delhi has asked me to conduct a credit course for engineering students. So I have decided that I will do a course based on Prana Vidya, but I won't call it Prana Vidya. If we call it Prana Vidya, they won't allow the course. So I'm calling something else and going to teach Prana Vidya there. The content is getting ready. I will definitely share with all of you. And also in YouTube, if you search Prana Vidya, our Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal's secretary, Mukul Kanitkar, he conducts introduction to Prana Vidya, not complete Prana Vidya, not advanced level, but introduction to Prana Vidya sessions have been recorded and uploaded on YouTube. So with that, you can understand certain things about Prana Vidya, but understanding is not sufficient. One has to find proper guru to be learn certain things and practice it. For example, we have to do certain asanas and certain shuddhi kriyas and certain pranayamas and all. After that, if you bring your hands together close to each other, the hands will bounce back. that much prana will be coming out of your hands after doing those practices. So like this, with anubhuti, with experience, we have to understand the prana. With explanation and PowerPoints and all, you cannot understand prana. So therefore, we need a proper one-to-one classes or practices to experience and understand the prana.
Mahodaya, this is Naresh.
Yes.
Thank you for conducting such a good educational session. I have got two questions. One is when you say Yukti, Mukti, and Arthkari, are these three different aspects or different dimension of the same Vidya, or they are three different Vidyas? That's my first question.
No. These are not part of Vidya actually. These are not part of the Vidya. These are the purpose of education. The purpose of education should be Arthakari, Yuktakari, and Muktakari.
So they are same three aspects of the same Shiksha, if I have to understand that.
I'm talking about overall education, not particular Vidya.
Correct.
Overall purpose of education should be Arthakari, Yuktakari, and Muktakari, whatever may be the subject.
Thank you. And the second question is when in Bhagavad Gita, when Lord says Yogaksham Vaham Ham, so he's talking about his prana in us, or I mean,
No.
How do we
yoga means
apurti
prapya vastu.
Correct, that's why.
Prapya vastu. Kshema means preservation or protection of the prapta vastu. Fulfillment of desire and contentment of the fulfilled aspect. Prapya vastu and suraksha of prapta vastu. That is yoga and kshema. Both are different aspects.
So in terms of these three, Yuktakari, Muktakari, and Arthakari, that's a declaration from Lord Krishna. Where does it fall? It falls into all three, right? Categories.
I think you have taken it to some other way. Can you write me privately? I will answer you later. I think the clarification is required.
Not a problem. I'll email you the question.
Yeah, okay.
If I have the email. So we are going to get the email address, right?
Yes.
Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad, Mahodaya. I have one question. So in our everyday life, we are practically surrounded with this system of education. So based on what you had explained very nicely, so what could be those few simple things that we can do in our everyday life so that we can enhance the ability of our children and the children we teach in Vidyaniketanam, where we have sessions. So what could be those few simple things that we can adopt in our everyday life?
Okay. To enhance the ability, we can do certain things. In Bangalore, we are doing some practices. There is a group of families. They are sending their kids to a certain house. They don't send to schools. In that house, they have designed certain activities. For example, each day they will tell one Sanskrit story, one English story, and one in Kannada, in mother tongue, Sanskrit, and English. In 3 languages, somebody says a story, and they will have projects on that story, some aspects of that story. For example, why did Bhishma say this to Arjuna? So they will have debates on it. So 6 to 12 years old kids have listening 3 stories each day in 3 languages. So in 365 days, if you leave out the holidays and all other things, at least 300 Sanskrit stories, 300 Kannada stories, 300 English stories. And they have done so much discussion and everything on those stories. So within 2 years, they know the language better than MA graduates, master's graduates. They don't follow any textbook. They don't read any poem in the textbook and write exams. So 8 years old, 9 years old boys know better Kannada, better Sanskrit, better English than university graduates. So this is a way to enhance their ability. If you tell them you have to learn English, they won't learn English. If you give some activity, that activity will enhance their ability. So activity-based learning should be practiced. That's the main. And we can talk about, if you check Samvida, Samvida, SAMVID, Samvida. Group of parents have started this, and we are guiding that.
Mahoday, I have a question on Vedas. So you mentioned about Brahmanas in Rig Veda. How do we study and learn, become Ganapatis?
Now you cannot become Ganapati. You have to start at the age of 8.
Yeah.
You have to start at the age of 8.
Yeah.
Actually, Vedas are supposed to be studied in the Brahmacharya ashrama, and I mean before getting married. So that after marriage, they will be able to practice those things. So it's actually Brahmacharya ashrama is preparation for the Grahastha ashrama. So now you can learn your shakha, and I mean if you belong to certain shakha, you can learn that Sandhya Vandana or certain practices, rituals, Shodasha Samskara and those things according to your shakha only. You can learn them, and you can make sure that your next generation at least studies from the young age. For example, there is a chartered accountant in Chennai. Last 3 years he studied the useful mantras from his shakha, and he has taken Agnihotra. He does Agnihotra every day in his home, and after 9 o'clock he goes to office. So like that, the purpose of studying should be the practice. If that is there, then according to practice, you can learn necessary things. There are many people are teaching in US also. There are many Vedic classes, but you should study your shakha only. For example, I belong to Rigveda Shakala Shakha. So I have to study Shakala Shakha only. I cannot go and study Samveda. So even if I study Samveda, it will not be useful for me. So you have to identify your shakha and study necessary things from that shakha only. Yes.
Namaste, Mahoday. I have a question. So what made you to choose Gurukula system of education, and how it has changed your life?
Sorry?
What made you to choose?
You're talking about my education.
Yes. What made you to choose Gurukula?
Okay. I had no choice. In the sense, even before I grow up and be able to select things, I was 50% of my education was over.
Oh, okay.
So in India, we don't ask kids what are you going to study.
So okay, you are kind of forced to choose the Gurukula.
No. I was not forced actually. I belong to a Patanpura. Okay, we don't
not force, but just you were chose to go for the Gurukula system.
No. Let me tell you.
Okay.
The jokes apart. I was born into a farmer's family. My father was a farmer in North Karnataka, in a small village.
Okay.
So we are four siblings. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. So the village was in a certain place that we had to travel at least 4 kilometers to catch a bus.
Mm-hmm.
We had to walk 4 kilometers to catch a bus. So there was not even roads, no bus facility and all. There was no school in our village. And we had so many land disputes and every other issue in our village, in our family. So my father thought that this boy will be spoiled here, because I was going to, I was holding knives and going to kill people because they abused my father at the age of 6. At the age of 6, I was trying to kill somebody with a knife, because such kind of environment was there in the village.
Okay.
So my father thought this boy will be spoiled here in this environment. He should be sent out somewhere, and he sent me to a relative's house. That relative used to live near a temple in Dharwad city. So every day I used to go to temple and sit there, and that temple had a Gurukulam.
Oh, okay.
So I was not admitted into any schooling formally.
Oh, okay.
So I was just living in relative's house to be away from the family, to be away from the danger in the village. I was sent away.
Okay.
So I was staying in some relative's house, and I was visiting temple, and I used to sit there and listen to them. And by listening only, I grasped certain things, and I started participating in the sessions also. Then teacher asked me, "Who are you? Who allowed you here?" Without any admission, I was sitting in the classes also.
Oh, okay.
So he realized that I was coming without any formal admission and all. So he made me go through the admission process. He called my relative and asked him to fill a form, and they performed my Upanayanam also.
Okay.
They performed my Upanayanam. They only performed. My parents did not perform. They only performed my Upanayanam also. And at the age of 7, like that, I was naturally went into Gurukulam.
Okay.
Without even consent of my parents, not even force.
Okay.
Anything. Okay. Since then, after 2 years, somebody took me from there to different place. Somebody came to our Gurukulam, and he said, "This boy studies well. I will take him." So he took me from there to Andhra Pradesh.
Okay.
So like that, different people took me to different places and taught me certain things without even my parents didn't know where I was. I used to write letters sometimes. I'm in this place, I'm in this city, I'm doing well. So at least one letter for 3 months, that's all.
Okay.
That was my communication with my parents. Therefore, you cannot say no. Somebody forced me into Gurukul education. It happened naturally out of prarabdha karma.
Yeah, that's really good to know. Thank you.
Yes.
Namaste, Mahodaya. I have a question. The way you explained everything, I think we're not that much fortune. Like, we didn't have a childhood like you have it, the education and all that stuff. We already, already passed more than the life. 50 years or something we already passed. We cannot go back that, but whatever we have it, I think you should, can you recommend like some kind of book or some kind of like, the way at least we can change our life a little bit, and whatever the life we have it, and we can progress a little bit more. So at least the Manushya Avatara that we have it, we can fulfill a little bit. I think we have to come back for certain things, like when we Ganapati or something, next life might be we can fulfill or what. But this year, whatever we have it, that you can recommend something that we should practice and grow up ourselves.
Okay. You might have heard that Suta Puranika, in every Vrata and everything, even if you do Satyanarayana Puja, there will be a Vrata Katha in the end of the Puja. Siddhivinayak Vrata, Sarana Gauri Vrata, Shodasha Somvar Vrata. In every Vrata, there will be a story. So if you read the story, Ekada Naimisharanya, once upon a time in Naimisharanya, it will start like that. So Suta, once upon a time in Naimisharanya, Sutas were telling the stories to Rishis, to Munis. So what happened is, in Naimisharanya, a large gathering took place for 12 years. It is called Satra Yaga. The big Yaga, Satra Yaga, happened in Naimisharanya. In that Yaga, they used to perform all the practices and all the procedures in the daytime. In the evening, to have entertainment, they used to call sutas. Suta means it's certain jati. Sutas are born in interrelation between different varnas. They are known as sutas. They don't have any varna and ashrama. They don't belong to any varna. Sutas don't have varna and ashrama. So sutas have their own Ishtadevata. For example, sutas belonging to Shaiva Parampara will collect information about Shiva Purana, Shiva and all other things. So like that, sutas were from all 5 sampradayas, Shaiva, Shakta, Vaishnava, Ganapatya and Saura. All 5 paramparas were in Suta. They used to travel all the villages and tell the stories in gatherings. Even if you go to any traditional temple, you will see a Vasanta Mantapam in the temple. In Agama Shastra, Vasanta Mantapam, constructing Vasanta Mantapam is a necessity in a temple. So in Vasanta Mantapam or in village center, they used to narrate the stories, Puranas, and the whole village used to sit and listen to that. So sutas basically traveled all across the country and narrated the Puranas. What these Puranas have is Sargascha, Pratisargascha, Vamsho, Manvantaranicha, Vamshanucharitam Chaiva, Puranam, Panchalakshanam. Sarga means the creation, Pratisarga, the Pralaya, Vamsha, the clan, Manvantara, the chronology, the timeline of the Vamsha, Vamshanucharitam, the character, the Itihasa, not history. History is about wars and invasions. Charitra is different. So Ramayana is a Ramacharita. Ramayana is a Charita of Rama. So Charita is different, Vamshana Charita. So these 5 aspects are there in each Purana. So fundamentally, Puranas are education for the masses. Puranas were the education for the masses. Through Puranas, they used to tell even Dharma Shastra. I told about Manusmriti, Dashakam Dharma Lakshanam. This, the Manus Dharma Lakshana gets repeated in almost all Puranas with certain changes. So basically they are teaching Dharma Shastra along with the stories to people. So this is how Indians were educated through Puranas. Now, why I am telling all this to you is, reading Puranas is the best education. So you can start with Ramayana, studying Ramayana in the form of, you can do some Parayanam in the morning as a ritual and delve into the deeper meaning and other interpretations in the evening. If you, by the time you complete Ramayana within 2 or 3 years, you will be a different person. That's what I was trying to say, that read Ramayana, Mahabharata and Puranas. That is more than sufficient.
Mahoday, I'll change the topic a little bit now. So what is the state of Gurukulas currently in India, and how are things changing from like a British implemented system of education towards an Indian Gurukula system?
Actually, if you look at the quality of education, when I was a child, I mean in late 80s and early 90s, I met many people. They were so good in English. They were so good in many aspects, even mathematics, history, and many things. They were just matriculation passed outs. They didn't had they had no university degrees. They were so good with the basic matriculation. Today, there are PhD scholars, research scholars, vice chancellors, but they don't have even half of their knowledge. So we cannot say that the whole Macaulay system destroyed everything. Macaulay destroyed everything. The current, rapidly the quality of education is falling down. Literacy rate is growing. At the time of independence, we had very less literacy rate. Today, we have reduced the literacy rate and almost 100% literacy rate is there in India now. But if you look at the quality of education, university postgraduates are unable to write a proper letter. That's the condition. If they go to bank, the bank manager asks them to write a letter to apply for a checkbook or open account or something. They don't know how to address a manager and how to write a letter. That kind of education is being delivered. So this is not the fault of Macaulay. It was not so 30 years ago or 40 years ago. 40 years ago, matriculation passed outs were handling country. So it means the quality was good, even though the system was factory system. And it was available to only certain people. Available for only less people. It was not available for all. Now it is available for all, but the quality is not there. So therefore, we cannot go on blaming Macaulay. There is something fundamentally wrong in our policy making and political system. So this has to be changed. We are working towards that. And when we come to Gurukula aspect, number of Gurukulams is decreasing actually. Is decreasing because society thinks it is the job of government to look after Gurukulams. Society does not contribute to the Gurukulams. They don't care for it. And they think it is some religious education. In recent years, 2-3 years, the national pride has grown. But the pride has grown, but they don't have proper basic knowledge about these systems and all. If you say we have a Veda Pathshala and put a picture on Facebook, 1,000 people will like it. But if you call people to certain Pathshala and want to do certain things, nobody will come there. So the pride is there, but it is not translating into action in certain way, in terms of Gurukula education. People talk about Gurukula education, but they don't send their kids to Gurukulams. They say, I will support you, I will support you. So this kind of gallery cheering is happening. It takes time, it takes time. That's what I have left my career, my job and everything and working on it. I'm a pracharak. I'm in Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal. I'm a pracharak. It is not some kind of career actually. It is pracharak means they don't pay any salary. There will be no. They don't even have a proper document to say that I'm part of their organization. So if somebody asks me what are you doing, I have no document to show what I do. It's almost like becoming a monk in Ramakrishna Mission. I think in Ramakrishna Mission they will provide an ID card. I don't even have an ID card of our organization. Okay, fine. Is there any question?
Okay. Okay. If there are no more questions, I will request Sudhir Mahodaya, our Bhagavad Gita class teacher, to propose a vote of thanks to Dr. Raj Mahodaya.
Dhanyavada Mahodaya. This was a very, very, very informative session, and it is a very critical topic to be talking about these days, especially with people moving towards virtual education. So it's important to. This is a great opportunity actually to bring back the Gurukula education system. You provided an example of Samvida where people are actually sending kids voluntarily. So that is a great change that is required from the society, like government will not jump in here. You also talked about the different purpose of education, which I really like, being Muktahari, Muktakari, Yuktakari, and Arthakari, going beyond our limitations, having alignment, and we need to get the education to make a living. So that is That is a good way to put it. So that will eventually help us to enhance our abilities and prana shakti and installation of samskaras. You also touched upon the definition of acharya. So that is a really good point, because nowadays, as you said, like people don't follow what they're teaching. They are like just preaching something without actually following, and even kids don't have the opportunity to be with them, learn from them for a long period of time. So that's a good point. You also talked about the concept of living the life with the mamatva, having mamatva towards the society. That's another good idea that every one of us should inculcate in leading our life, to have our work, our actions, like when Bhagavad Gita says, Loka Sangraham Evartham, so to dedicate our actions and work towards helping the society. So that is very important as well. So overall, this has been very informative for me, and for Vidyaniketanam as well. It is a good topic to.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, Sudhirji. You use the word helping the society. This is where the problem starts. When you have to help the society, you are considering yourself different from the society. That is what I was talking about. If there is mamatva, there will be no duality. Doing something in the society will be as if you are doing for yourself. So it will not be helping society. To help somebody, you have to be different people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So whatever work you're doing is very appreciated, and so you mentioned that you're also dedicating your whole time and life towards being a pracharak. And that itself is a yagna in itself, and we need more people like you, and we would like to hear more of your thoughts, and if you can share any more information through email or articles and links, that will be very helpful.
Yeah, I think I spoke about having a separate session for some topic. I forgot the topic. What was the topic?
I think it was Panchakosha.
Panchakosha Vikasa. Okay. Yeah, fine.
I think you were talking about Sankhya. A topic was Sankhya.
Panchakosha and all. Yes, we will.